welcome to another episode of Hallmark. I'm Kristen.
I'm Aya.
And we're just gonna feel out the autumn vibes today.
Even though we are literally not experiencing autumn.
No, we went from like winter straight into summer here in Queensland.
Yes, we did.
But it is Halloween.
Yes, it is.
So we thought, why not bring some pumpkins into the episode?
Oh my god.
We watched Autumn Dreams this week, which you can watch on Prime here in Australia. And there isn't really much to the storyline, right?
No, honestly, I had to double check that it was a Hallmark movie, and it was.
Yeah.
Because it definitely doesn't give Hallmark vibes at all. Basically, Autumn Dreams is not what it sounds like. But I guess you can't call it annulment dreams.
No.
So basically, well, this is IMDb. Years after the annulment of their spontaneous marriage, a couple discovers a mistake in the paperwork that means they are still husband and wife. So basically, what are the characters' names?
Annie and Ben.
Annie and Ben, yeah, wedding when they're 18, they elope, and her dad's like, no. And they basically never speak again.
No.
After that, even though no one said to break up.
No.
They just never speak again. And then 15 years later, they're living their own separate lives. He's in New York. She's still in a country town running her dad's farm. And she gets paperwork being like, you're still married. You need to go through the divorce process. And
She's like, what?
she's like, what? And then she has to go meet her ex or her current husband, Ben, in New York. And it's just about them reconnecting.
Yeah. But not reconnecting.
And going through a divorce process, but like not going through a divorce process. And that's basically the movie. It's a pretty simple plot. I like that.
Yeah, there's no extra bits.
That's literally it. And I like that.
Yeah,
it's easy to follow.
It's very easy to follow. It also kind of means that we don't have a meet cute, because everybody who's in a relationship either already knows each other. So Annie and Ben, we see at the point where they get married at 18, and then they kind of meet again in the city, which is just she goes into to see his lawyer to be like, what do you mean we're still married? And they run into each other and they're like, oh, you look great, this is great, nice to see you, let's have a chat about what's going on.
Yes.
And then Annie's new husband Joe is like the love triangle at the beginning, so you can see that 18-year-old Joe has feelings for Annie. So he's the one that tells her dad that she's getting secretly married.
Dibba dobba,
because he doesn't want it to happen, because he loves Annie. And that kind of keeps going throughout the rest of the movie too. So even when she's like, I'm marrying Joe, we've already met Joe, so there is no real meet cute.
I feel like it's not a meet cute, but when she goes to the office and he's like, Annie, because she's literally not expecting to see him.
No,
but it wasn't like they hugged.
It was civil.
It was yeah, exactly. It wasn't like, what the F?
No.
It was very, polite. There's literally nothing interesting about it.
Like, oh my goodness, it's so nice to see you.
And obviously, Annie and Ben clearly never talk to each other again for 15 years. But there's no, like, how Annie and Joe, like, if you're going to do a meet cute or some kind of, we've connected moment, that doesn't happen.
No.
At all.
No. Yeah. So that's very interesting.
I said, and I just told you this before we started recording, I thought I was watching the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Because the poster image, I didn't realize that it was like flashback kind of 15 years and their kids getting married. And then the first thing you see is them getting married and kissing, which I guess makes sense because you're getting married and apparently you're only allowed to kiss when you're married or you love someone.
That's it.
In a Hallmark movie. So that threw me off straight away. I was like, this is not a Hallmark movie because why are you kissing? And then
and also they're not the people in the poster.
Also, they're not the people in the poster. And then you flash forward 15 years and I was like, oh, there you are. Yeah. But which I was like, why couldn't you just use the same people? Movies do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I know that you don't have to de-age people. Not that they looked old anyway.
No,
but just
young.
put them in like a Jersey. I don't know.
And I think they matched her very well with her younger self, but they didn't match him very well with his younger self.
I think that's the one that confused me the most was him.
Yeah, so it is a little confusing. So yes, they separate. Dad is like, we're going to get an annulment. Dad's in charge of the paperwork. For some reason, nobody knows because unfortunately, Annie's dad is no longer with us at this point in the movie. They have no idea why the paperwork hasn't been submitted. So that's also a big question mark that never gets solved. It's just kind of always brought up.
I kind of thought it would get solved. Like maybe he didn't do it on purpose because he's like, no, you're meant to be together. But...
It just wasn't right now. And that's what I was saying. I think you guys would work, but just not right now.
There was never any a letter or something explaining that. It was just purely a mistake.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Ben's a country boy that's gone to the city and become a whole new person. I think what also goes against Hallmark type in this movie is that Annie goes to the city because she's a country girl, goes to the city, gets for a reason. But at the end of the movie, there's no talk of where either of them are going to end up. There's she has her business, he has his business, they'll figure it out, but there's no expectation kind of put on either of them from our perspective that one is going to have to give up something for the other.
What if you could predict or choose?
I think he would come back.
I think so too.
And he would start, because he's an accountant in a very massive firm, he's become a full city boy, but to help the business out with their finances, because that's what he did as a teenager is what keeps being brought up. He helped the dad with the books, blah 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 blah. That's what I would predict.
I would assume so. She's too nice for the city, as this movie points out several times. Country girls don't belong in the city, that's for sure. So when we flash forward 15 years, we see Annie and Ben. No, not Ben. Joe. They're engaged. Gosh, they should not have ever been in a relationship, or they shouldn't have gotten engaged.
No,
because they've been engaged for 2 years, and she's constantly making excuses, but terrible excuses. And I immediately went, well, you don't want to get married to him. No. You don't even like him. You like him, but you don't love him.
I feel like because we saw this triangle at the beginning, it felt like Joe was the only option.
Yeah, and she says several times he stayed with her, helped her, looked after her, saved her, whatever. So it kind of felt I don't want to say a pity relationship,
it definitely felt obligation.
Obligation for sure. And she finally agrees to get married in a month's time, but after persisting for 2 years.
Yes. And that's it. And then we go into the city and Ben's like, I'm getting married on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you only doing divorce papers now then?
Yeah,
you
but
have
also,
a week.
His lawyer was terrible, first of all. So unbelievable as a lawyer. I thought Ben was the lawyer. And then when he wasn't the lawyer, I was confused. As in the actor. Why are you... So the reason why the whole divorce or lack of annulment is coming up is because the lawyer is only just doing the prenup.
Yes. A week before the wedding.
Yes. So...
But they're very busy people. They do very busy things. And he is on the phone all the time. And that's
when
what
you're
we
in
see.
When you live in the city, New York City, you don't have time...
No.
To get annulments.
No annulments here.
Or look at prenups.
The actor who plays Ben, Colin Egglesfield,
he's done stuff.
He was in one of my favourite movies ever, called Something Borrowed. It has Kate Hudson and Jennifer Goodwin in it.
Interesting, that's one of your... And John Krasinski.
Yes.
He's the best part in it.
He's the best. John Krasinski
is the best
part of it.
He's always in a moral...
predicament?
Yes, when it comes to relationships. That movie and this movie, he's always with the wrong person.
Yes, and he doesn't wait to be with the right person.
He just goes and cheats and kisses who he wants.
And so the whole movie, I'm just like, oh, I love Something Borrowed. And I don't know what it is about Something Borrowed, but I think it's maybe Kate Hudson and John Krasinski. Because Kate Hudson plays a character that she doesn't often play.
Yeah, but she does such a good job.
And John Krasinski is just the ultimate The end.
Yeah.
He's number one.
And it's, do you know who it's got in it? The friend who's obsessed with John Krasinski is the girl who was in Love on a Limb.
Love on a Limb, yeah.
And where this is not good. But he says that he's gay to like kind of say, oh, I'm not interested in you because I'm gay. And then so she becomes like this massive ally. Yeah. And like she's quite a funny character in it.
She's very good at it. Yeah.
It's so weird that you end up in Hallmark. I don't know.
Hallmark makes movies all the time. It's work.
Yeah, true.
There we go. Leaving the door to the last minute. Then I don't know. Maybe I like blacked out at a point, but then I like looked up and Annie and Ben's current fiance Giovanna are now wedding dress shopping for Annie.
Yes,
which was
you really blacked out.
I really blacked out. What happened in between?
So what happened in between that? So and then after they spoke. Oh yeah. I've already said that. City people are so rude. She didn't book accommodation. This is like
Annie didn't book accommodation.
Oh, so when they end up, she didn't book accommodation when she goes to New York. First of all, I was just like, why? You knew you were going. Just book accommodation. So she gets put up in some suite that Ben has access to, but then they go
as an accountant.
As an accountant, and he has a driver.
Yeah,
I don't know. And they go to the court to like start the process. And the judge has an issue with the lawyer.
Yes, and she's like, well, if you haven't actually had a go at being married, then why don't we think about it? I'll give you the weekend, actually. You know what? You need a divorce by Saturday? Come back on Monday.
Oh my, which is so, it's like, babes, they haven't spoken in 15 years. Let them divorce.
But also, Ben and Giovanna are getting married on Saturday. Like, that plan's not changing.
Yeah.
They haven't budged the date that is happening. So then there's, like, this moment of, like, well, that just can't happen.
Yeah. But Annie goes, oh, I just want to get this over with, and then walks out of the courtroom, like leaves, and then Ben follows her. So then they're not getting it over and done with. That actually, I think that's what delays it. Yeah. Is because they both walking out, and the lawyer's like, and then the judge is like, Monday. So yeah,
he does fall back in love over a weekend.
Exactly, and the lawyer does acknowledge, well, this is your fault because you walked out. So that's good. Yeah. You know, it wasn't. You know, they didn't just write something stupid without acknowledging it. Yeah, they had a character acknowledge it, but it was still stupid. Like, why would you be like, I want to get this over and done with, and then just walk out? No, stay where you are and be like, excuse me, judge.
Yeah, he's getting married Saturday, and we haven't talked in 15 years.
Yeah. Yes. Oh gosh.
And then Giovanna and Annie meet, and she's like, I'm getting married, and Giovanna's like, oh, what's the dress look like? And Annie's like, I don't know one. And she's like, what? So they go wedding dress shopping, and she tries on a bunch of wedding dresses, so many of which suit her perfectly. And then
this girl's a hater.
Yeah, that's all, the one that she chooses has no shape. It looks terrible on her.
What's her name?
Giovanna.
Absolute hater. Like, beautiful dresses, and kept saying, that's just not you. You don't know her. No, they're not her. But like, you don't know her. She looked amazing, and yet it was like, not frumpy's not the right word. Yeah, just no shape.
And so I was
not
like,
flattering.
And then Annie says to Ben, Giovanna's great. I just wrote, Giovanna is not great, Annie.
Yeah, no.
She's done you dirty.
Yeah. She chose the worst wedding dress ever. I think that was intentional. It's not because
well, that's the thing, is that they keep portraying Giovanna as this sheep and wolf in sheep's clothing, kind of like a bit of a bitch under the surface, but really nice on the outside. So constantly I'm like, maybe she is a nice person, but then like the way that Ben talks about her, I'm like, oh no. Yeah. And the way that she was talking in the elevator about the wedding and all of those kind of things. It's a bit every now and then. So after the dress shopping, she comes back, they're talking about it. And Ben's like, you know what? Giovanna's off on this thing for work for a couple of days, so I'm off wedding duties for a couple of days. So
and I'm like, hang out.
Is the wedding not in a couple of days?
Yeah. Are there not other things to like plan or do, or
as if you've been on wedding duty in the first place, Ben.
Yeah, that's true.
So then they start hanging out, and these are my comments from the hangout. This seems like a bad idea, guys.
Yes. Is this where they're in the park and stuff?
Yeah. So he takes her on like this tour of his New York.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And they're having picnics and they're going to dinner, and it's like 3 or 4 days it seems that they've just hung out one-on-one. And I just feel like I was waiting for him to be like, I worked my way up in the city for you, Annie. Like, all of this was meant to be for you. Like, that's the vibe that it kind of goes with.
But, like, if that was true, then why did no one talk to anyone for 15 years?
Well, and that's what comes out, is that, like, he had written letters, they had tried to talk, why didn't you meet me at the bus station? Why didn't you come when my dad had a heart attack? Like, all of these things where communication was lost. And honestly, for the whole movie, I was expecting, like, at the end, Joe to be like, here's all the letters that you sent, and I kept them from you, or she's opened a box that belonged to her dad, and there was all these letters from Ben. Like,
yes,
that kind of stuff was never resolved. Like,
I think the theme of this movie is, like, letters, paperwork always go missing.
Yeah, never mail anything.
Yeah.
Don't put anything in the mail, guys. It won't get to its destination.
No, it won't. Not in this world.
And then they're in the back of the limo, and she's like, I'm gonna go to sleep now. And she intentionally falls asleep on his shoulder, which I'm like, I know that there's familiarity there. But there's just something about it that I'm like,
I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do that.
I'd just wait. I'm sure it's like a 10-minute drive back to your hotel.
Yeah.
Just have a moment.
Yeah.
Guys, be careful. Because she's like, it's kind of been perfect these last 2 days. And he's like, yeah, it has been perfect these last 2 days. And I'm like,
oh my gosh, don't.
I'm like, Ben, don't be a cheater in every movie that you're in.
Exactly.
Then they go into the last time they hang out, they're in Ben's apartment. And Giovanna wants to get rid of this piano. He doesn't talk nicely about his fiancée at all. She wants to change this. She wants to change that. Blah, 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 blah. And Annie's just like, oh, okay, don't do that. Or, like, why? Or where's the compromise? There's no, like, chat about that. And then he takes her out onto the balcony to this really lovely green screen view.
It didn't even look like New York, but it looked like a green screen, that's for sure. That was terrible.
And then he's like, I'm really glad we reconnected. I'm really glad to have you back in my life. And Annie goes really strange. Of just like, I'm not back in your life. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here to get a divorce. And I'm like, he hasn't asked you to marry him. You can be friends.
At this point, has she been invited to the wedding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she's been invited to the wedding and the rehearsal.
Yeah, so that's happened. And he's obviously interpreted that as, you're back in my life.
Yeah.
Permanently.
Yeah. But I'm like, you don't have to be romantically involved. Like, you obviously get along. You obviously enjoy each other's company. If you are truly in love with your partners, you can be friends.
Yeah.
There's been 15 years in between.
15 years of nothing.
Of nothing.
Dating other people, moving on 15 years.
Yeah. That was a bit weird. But then he does kiss her.
Yeah.
Without consent. She's actually already said no and said, like, this can't happen. And he still kisses her anyway. Which was my bit that I was like,
yeah,
you've lost me.
Yeah. And also, it's just a bit of a moral pickle because, no consent, but also he's just openly cheating in the home that he lives with his
partner.
With his partner. Yeah, 2 days before the wedding.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
And then I think it's Annie that says, this isn't supposed to be confusing.
Yes.
And I said, why? I'm like, why isn't it supposed to be confusing? You didn't get any closure. Neither of you got closure. There's been no talk about it. You got married.
Yeah.
And then you disappeared out of each other's lives. Of course it's confusing. Like, you're going to see each other after 15 years. There's going to be unresolved feelings, whether they're positive, negative, constructive.
Yeah. That's true.
It's going to be a confusing time.
Maybe she thought it wasn't supposed to be confusing as obviously like in terms of having feelings again.
Yes, but she never admits to having feelings at this point. So.
No, that's true.
But
she goes everywhere with him through New York, goes to his house, falls asleep on his shoulder.
Then still turns up to the rehearsal.
Yeah, the next day after the kiss.
And she doesn't have a role in the wedding, so she's literally practicing the role of being a guest.
Yeah. No one else was there.
No. And she stands when the guest is supposed to stand, and she gets emotional because she's having flashbacks to her own wedding with Ben. And so you start to see that maybe she does have some feelings that are unresolved there, which are making it difficult. But prior to this, she says to Hector, who's the driver, "You're my best friend in New York." Hector, you're my best friend in New York. But I'm like, I have a big old question mark about whether Annie has any friends at all.
Yeah, we know she's got Rob?
Joe?
Good. He's so forgettable. We know there's Joe, her mum.
Yep. And
That's
the
it.
farmhands that we see later on in the movie, but we haven't seen prior to that when she goes to
they're not
prior
her
to
friends.
No. And so then, and even Ben has his lawyer, who seems to also be his friend, and his colleague, and he has Giovanna. And that is it. No, but there's no best friend role in this movie.
That's true.
There's no best friend role in this movie at all. I got very confused about why she was at the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then I was like, are they still getting married on Saturday when they're not getting a divorce until Monday?
Yeah, because the thing was, like, the lawyer was going to do a sneaky paper swap or fake paper.
Or, like, change the date on the marriage contract or something.
Yeah.
Why did I write nice judge? I think the judge was just sassy.
She was very sassy.
And I was like,
she was.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. She was funny.
But the thing that confused me, so, like, once she walks out of the rehearsal,
yes,
Joe, you won't call him Rob. Joe calls. It's like, there's a big storm coming. Like, you need to come back. And, like, you see him, and it's like windy, and things are building up. So I googled how far it is from New York City to, like, Iowa.
Yeah,
it's 4 hours. That's not including getting to the airport, like getting a flight.
Yeah.
But when she
gets there, it's in the middle of the storm.
Yes. Yeah. Or the storm still hasn't arrived yet.
He's like, I'm feeling it in my waters. The storm is 6 hours away. It gives you plenty of time to come. Yeah, she's also the only one doing any work. Like, she's the only one with a shovel putting weights in, sand into bags. Everyone else is just kind of standing. One person has the bag open, and the other people are just walking around.
Yeah.
That I'm like, you guys could have probably done this on your own.
But also, what have you been doing for the last 6 hours?
Yeah.
While you've been waiting for her to arrive? Or did you all just sit there and be like, when Annie gets here, we can do this?
We can do this, guys. We can't do this without Annie.
We can't do it without Annie. She needs to be here.
We are a family. She's standing on the porch of her farmhouse, and she's looking at the sky. She's like, these stars are really nice and clear tonight. And then it pans to just, like, an overlay of twinkling stars.
Is this after the storm?
Yeah.
Oh, the air's so clear after the storm. You live in
country.
Country. It's gonna be clear.
I hope it's clear every night, because if not, we got some conversations with Iowa to have.
Yeah. But also, like, no damage. What kind of storm was this? There was, like, literally no damage. No. From what I could see.
But it was gonna be quite harmful to the crops. Now, the whole time she's trying to figure out her thesis, I think, for her PhD, is how to protect crops without chemicals. And so, like, that was the like, if the storm came through and blew all the crops away, then all of her research is kind of down the toilet. Joe comes out and is a bit of a dick. Truly. He's just like, you didn't tell me you got married. And she's like, well, I didn't think it was necessary because it was annulled. Like, again,
I disagree with her though in that. Yes. Like, it's still, like, something that but also, didn't he know that they got married?
Yes. He
knew.
Yes.
So then why were we hiding it from him?
But he also knew. So then I'm like, why is it like, you never told me that you actually went through with it?
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, well, you know that because we left the dance to go to the church. Like,
yeah.
This is like, that's where I was like, why are you being such a butthead? Like,
yeah.
You knew, and you knew the level of feelings that they had for each other, but you're so selfish that you just were like, but I want that. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And to a point, like, yes, she should have had the discussion with him before going to New York to be like, hey, by the way, I have to go get a divorce. Yeah. That definitely should have happened. But it's quite obvious that they're not a good couple from
No.
the beginning.
And she breaks off the engagement.
Yeah, so I'm like, bye, Joe.
But like she breaks off the engagement, gives the ring back. He leaves, and she's like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "Don't you dare go out of my life." It's like, this guy, you are stringing him along.
Yeah.
For the ride, honey.
Yeah.
But he's so willing to be there as well.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, he doesn't want to leave, but it's like he doesn't want to face the fact that she's clearly not that into him.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want him to leave because she relies on him so much, but she doesn't want to be with him.
No, like, and it's okay to be like, hey, you're a really good friend, and I would prefer to be friends, and then navigate how awkward that's going to be for a little while. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all very needy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would...
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
She finds the suitcase, which
suitcase so empty.
So empty, which she packed, because they were... So at the beginning, when they're 18, they're going to get married, they're going to run off together. She has a suitcase in Ben's truck. And when her dad finds her, just after they got married, he tells her to go home. So she takes the suitcase back to her home. And it seems to have been sitting there for 15 years, but she opens it and it literally just has the dress she got married in, a garter, a photo of her and Ben at that time, the bus ticket that they were supposed to catch to run away together, and was that it?
The wedding band.
And the wedding band.
Yeah.
And she just has like a moment.
But it wasn't hidden very well.
No.
Like,
She could have gone into it. Joe.
Joe. Stupid Joe. He could have easily walked into her room and be like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Or just opened it himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't very well hidden. I would have like put it up somewhere high behind things.
Had stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Not just on the floor in your wardrobe.
No. Then we get over it. Nothing really happens with the suitcase.
No.
We get over it. We're back onto the farm, and she's about to give her, like, we did it speech. The crops were saved. We got, like, 70% of them. Good job. But before that, every person that walks past Joe, he, like, gives them, like, 5 shoulder taps. He's like, yeah, good one. Yeah, good job. Yeah, good job. And I'm just like, what is happening?
I didn't notice that. Oh my God. That's so funny.
Everyone's going to the autumn festival dance.
Yes. At that point, I said to Kristen, like, before we recorded, that apparently we've watched this before. I didn't remember until this festival dance.
This moment.
The
And
very
she's
end.
like, oh, I'm not gonna go. I just am like, I'm feeling my feelings.
Yeah.
And her mum is like, no, come on. Get out of the house. You will feel better for it. I actually really like the mum in this movie.
No, she's good. She's a good mum.
We'll go together. We can have a dance. We'll come home. It'll be fine. Mm-hmm. They get to the dance. It's all fine. They immediately see people that they know because why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And they're talking and being like, hey, how are you going? And the 2 people that they're talking to are either not mic'd or they're miming conversation. Because we only get Mum and Annie's side of the conversation and nothing else.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
And then Ben pulls up to this country dance in a limo. Like,
with his chauffeur.
He has made sure that Hector, the chauffeur, is coming with him. And,
Yeah.
and like framed it as if, we're going on holiday, Hector. Of course you're coming with me. Why wouldn't you come with me? And then makes him drive him in a limo through a country town.
Yeah. Poor Hector.
Poor Hector. And also, Ben, we get it. You want to show off. You used to drive a pickup truck. Now you're in a limo. Fine. He obviously goes in. They have a dance. He has a dance with Annie. They fall in love.
Joe is watching this.
Joe is watching from the side like an absolute creeper. Just watch it, like, arms folded, leaning against the table. Just
it
like,
was weird.
It was just so creepy. And he's had, like, a moment with Ben outside to be like,
I want to pop you in the mouth.
Yeah.
This is the line he said.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Anyway, this lovely, I'm assuming, lady sidles up to Joe and is like, hey, Joe, like, looks like Annie's, like, moving on. And he says a completely different name that is not her name, and she's like, it's Mary Lou. And he's like, okay, Mary Lou. And she's like, if you ever want to, like, hang out sometime, let's hang out. And I was like, Mary Lou, get some standards, girl. Like, what? He doesn't even know your name.
Yeah, that's so embarrassing.
You're in everyone's probably gonna know everyone.
Yeah.
How rude.
Yeah.
Get some standards.
Yeah, she was a bit despo.
Yeah, it's sad I was sad for her.
I wasn't sad for Joe.
No, Joe's a butthead.
Yeah.
Big old butthead.
Big old butthead.
And then Ben and Annie live happily ever after. He gets down on one knee and says, will you marry me again? And then they have a full ceremony. Mm-hmm. But they haven't gotten divorced. They're already married. So why are they having a full wedding ceremony
to
again?
celebrate that they're actually going to stay married, maybe.
But why not just do a renewal of vows?
But they're not. I don't know. They're not signing anything though. It's just for show. It's just a show.
What a waste of money.
Her dress. I didn't like her dress.
No.
The wedding dress situation. First, Brigida or whatever. What's her name?
Brigida. We're now in the Sound of Music.
Yeah, the
Giovanna,
whatever. Same thing. Rob, Joe. Like, it's all the same. Giovanna chooses her an ugly dress. And then at that point, like, Annie's like, yeah. And then she goes and chooses an ugly dress for herself anyway at the end. Girl.
Yeah. Anyway. That's the end of my notes, mate.
All right. Three
things I liked. I
That's
actually
what the end of mine
found
too.
3 things I
Me
liked.
too.
That's impressive. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I thought the acting from the 2 leads was actually really good. Like, they had a real natural kind of chemistry. It was very believable that there was something there. And just even, like, the dialogue. I think, in general, like, the dialogue between them was quite well written, actually. So, therefore, acting it was quite natural. And then I guess I kind of liked the moral complexities of this movie because it is a Hallmark and they tend not to be...
No.
They tend to, like, be very straight and you only kiss when you're in love and, you know, all those things. But the fact that there was, like, multiple kisses, and I'm not condoning cheating at all, but it was just interesting to see that in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's... I wrote that and going, like, it's not something I liked. I kind of liked...
You like the point of difference.
The point of difference, yeah. And then I liked that it was more of a going to a big city rather than a small town. Yeah, it was just like that kind of swap where, country gal and even country boy go to a big city. And I don't think we often see that. They were either in the city always, or they were from a small town, moved to a big city, then have to go back to the small town. So
it was good. It was good. I liked how Annie was independent. Like, yes, she was getting married to Joe. Yes, she had been married to Ben, but like that was the what's it called? The subplot for her in her own life. Like, what she was really focused on was her study, her business, the farm. I really like that. I really like the pumpkin vibes.
I don't remember pumpkin vibes in this. I honestly confused why it was called Autumn Dreams until the end. Were there more pumpkins in this?
There were pumpkins in the beginning, and pumpkins in the end.
Okay.
But the autumn festival, the autumn whatever it was called.
Harvest Festival.
The Harvest Festival. That setup is like perfection with the leaves and like everything was very just like pretty. The hessian bows, all of that kind of stuff.
It didn't feel like, you know, when you sometimes look at like set designs of a Hallmark movie, you're like,
No, this one was good. And I think that across the board, like even his like some of his apartment was a bit like questionable, but like most of the time everything looked the way that I expected it to look and not in a weird Hallmarky way. And I also really like the acting. I think the acting was really good.
Yeah.
I don't like, even having said that, I don't think I'd change my rating, and I'm confused why it's so low, but probably because like we've watched it twice now and I probably don't need to watch it again.
Yeah, no.
But I guess, if I like was forced to, I wouldn't be mad about it.
No,
like
it wasn't...
if you forced me to watch Love Strikes twice, I'd be grumpy about it.
I would walk out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have rated it 6.
I've rated it 6.5. Do you know
It's
what?
amazing. You know what? I'll bump mine to a 6.5.
Because when I was thinking, what will KB do? 'Cause I didn't want to be low again and come across as like the person who was like 4 out of 10 every time. But like it was good.
Yeah,
and
it was
the fact
good.
that I think I always have to give credit to myself for writing 3 things,
Yes.
and then go, the rating should reflect that I was able to write 3 things.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I will look. I'll bump mine up to a 6.5. Then we make it 6.5 out of 10. And honestly, it kind of sits. It sits with
That
in
makes
that kind of
sense.
demographic.
Yeah, with like
of,
Good Witch, Perfect Pairing,
My Christmas Love, like
Mm-hmm.
all of what's the other? A Taste of Christmas. Yeah, like it's a good, solid Hallmark film,
Yes.
and I would probably recommend it.
Once. Watch it once.
Yeah, if you're looking for something that's not Christmas
Yeah.
and you want to watch something,
Yeah.
watch Autumn Dreams, guys.
And you don't need to watch it, I think, during autumn.
No.
Either. Like, well, clearly we're not. But it's not shoved down your throat like
No.
autumn.
No.
This is the most perfect time of the year. We've got the the Harvest Festival was in it, but it wasn't the key thing at all, like as a subplot.
Yeah.
It was just like literally a story about 2 people in a very complex situation, and yeah.
Bam.
Boom.
The
Stunning.
end.
Yay.
Wild. What a wild time. It's very rare that we agree on a rating, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Go watch it, guys. If you don't want to watch it, we will try and put up a little summary for you, so at least you kind of have the general gist and faces of the people we're talking about if you're listening to this episode. And you would find those things on our socials.
Absolutely.
On Instagram and TikTok at HallmarkedPod. If you want to send us an email, because why not? Tell us what you want to listen to, what movies we should be watching, if we're not doing enough Hallmark for you.
Yeah.
Send us an email at hallmarkedpod@gmail.com. We're about to launch back into Christmas because it's going to be November.
Yeah.
And now is the time.
It is.
The countdown.
The countdown. We need to like privately discuss what we're watching,
Yes.
but like we have ideas.
We'll let you know. And obviously we have already reviewed a lot of Christmas movies, so we'll
Yes.
put them up in order of like the top 10 for now. If you want to if we want to start watching some of those ones and going back to those episodes.
Yeah.
I think A Mistletoe Promise people have started listening to that episode again, so maybe we'll just like pop some stuff
And
up
do you know
about
what?
that.
Would recommend Mistletoe Promise.
Yeah,
I might watch
down.
it again. Like
It's
while
so
I'm
good.
doing something. Not like just sit down and watch it. But like enjoy it while I'm cleaning or
Yeah, have it on in the background. It's a good one.
yeah.
So yeah, if you want to start on Christmas early, go back to some of our past episodes and have a little bit of a listen if you haven't already. And you know what would be really helpful? Tell your friends.
Yes.
Tell your friends to like, subscribe, follow on whatever platform they find podcasts on.
Yeah.
Or to follow us on our Instagram and TikTok because that's fun too.
Please. We're trying to get on a Hallmark cruise next year.
And the plugs are back, guys.
I
You
haven't
missed
done one
them.
in a while.
Our next episode is going to be a slightly different one.
Yes.
We are jumping into. We're having a slight detour before Christmas.
Yeah, the last thing
before Christmas is, well, how can you not? Netflix released a choose your own adventure interactive rom-com, which follows so many of the Hallmark tropes that we were like, well, how can we not watch it? We had our friend Liz from Ghosts of Boyfriends Past watch it with us, so on our socials we'll pop up some of those Gogglebox style vids.
Yes.
But we will be reviewing it next fortnight, so
Yeah. We'll see you
get
then.
ready, watch it.
Oh, sorry, I just went bye.
So we'll see you then.
Bye.